A new CBSN Originals is taking a deep dive into women in the workplace. Even after the Me Too movement, women who have made it or risen in their careers still face an uphill battle in a system dominated by men. Here's a sneak peek.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
What do we think of when we think of leader? We think of someone who is brilliant, intelligent, compassionate. That can be anyone. That doesn't necessarily have to be situated within a male's body. The Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement have really been at the forefront of uncovering and exposing the biases and inequalities that women have experienced.
It was a seminal moment for women. We saw people pay the ultimate price in ways that we think we've never seen before. Now, for us, it's what's next. 41 of the Fortune 500 companies are headed by women. We need to do better.
2020 in particular has seen women being pushed back into these gender roles, right?
When my husband and I talked about the decision of someone having to leave, it just was not a question of who that person would be. It was naturally that it would be me because of the role that I play in our family dynamic.
In a single year, we wiped out 3 to 4 decades worth of progress on women coming into the workforce, on being able to make a living for themselves and their families.
And so women have a different road ahead of them, no matter how good they are. It's just societal norms and human nature.
So for more on this, I want to bring in lawyer and CEO of Time's Up, Tchen. Thank you so much for joining us, Tina. So the Me Too movement, put a spotlight on the bad behavior, often criminal behavior that women were subjected to in the workplace. Time's Up looked at, well, how do we remedy this problem? How do we change things? And one of the conversations that came up was we need more women in positions of leadership, that it's not enough for a company to say, well, this percentage of our workforce is female if they're not in positions where they can make a difference. And even if they're in a leadership position, sometimes they still don't feel like they can make a difference. So my question to you is, there's a whole lot of energy behind these two movements. What has changed?
Well, a couple of things have changed, and thank you for having me on this morning. First, just exposing the problem was the first step. When Time's Up and Me Too exploded 3.5 years ago, it had been 3 decades since sexual harassment had been outlawed by the U.S. Supreme Court as a matter of U.S. federal employment
Right.
law. And yet, it was prevalent everywhere because it was a secret. It was kept secret. There were non-disclosure agreements to keep people from talking. You tried to make sure that, HR was all quiet, or you didn't investigate and you didn't believe women at all when they came forward. And so the first step is to recognize it, to name it, for companies to realize they've got a problem and they've got to address it. But then we have to get to the root cause, right? We really need to actually have workplaces where sexual harassment doesn't happen in the first place. And as you point out, that means making sure we upset the power imbalance, of male supremacy that allows sexual harassment to continue to be pervasive, to be tolerated. And that means having women, and not just women, but people of color, LGBTQIA, disabled workers fully represented up and down the wage scale in our workplaces. That's what it will take to really build the workplaces we all want, which is one where any of us can go, feel fully accepted, feel fully able to reach our full potential.
Mm-hmm. And so, we still see kind of a gap when it comes to leadership and women in positions of leadership. I suppose that's not something that can, I should ask you, how rapidly can that be turned around? It's been a few years now. Have we given corporations enough time to get it right?
Well, actually, it can happen quickly if you put your mind to it. A couple of years ago, I worked with Procter & Gamble, and Procter & Gamble actually does, a pretty intentional effort of identifying talent 2 or 3 years out that they want to advance, and then working with those folks as they move along and up the company. And I was speaking with them in their Asia group, and they went from, very few women in their top leadership to over a third in their top leadership, on their way to 50% there, in a matter of 3 or 4 years. So it can happen when you're intentional. Just in the last year, because of the murder of George Floyd, the Wall Street Journal ran an article earlier this week demonstrating that S&P 500 companies have increased their board of director membership. So the folks who are new members of S&P 500 board of directors, 60% of them were people of color in a single year. Now, that doesn't change the overall makeup of the boards, because they were such a small number. But when you make 60% of your new directors in a single year people of color, you've made progress. So you can. It's not like the talent isn't out there. That's always, the old, kind of excuse that gets used. We know that's not the case. Women have been graduating at higher percentages from college, for example, than men for over a decade. And, so the talent is there. It's a matter of recognizing it. It's a matter of restructuring our workplaces so they accommodate our workers of the future. This is the critical issue we're working on right now, which is the caregiving crisis in this country. Over 2 million women have left the workforce permanently, as you pointed out in your setup piece, because of what's going on in the pandemic, because the caregiving crisis we had going into the pandemic has gotten worse with schools closed, with the demands on people from home. And so, we run the risk of losing all that progress if we're not intentional about also restructuring how work is done, making sure we're flexible, making sure we provide things like paid leave, that we have investments in affordable childcare, in affordable elder and disabled care, in supporting caregivers themselves with fair wages and labor protections, so that we can find caregivers for those of us who are going out of the house to work. And so, that is a critical moment right now. It's what it will take to bring women into the workplace and bring them into all levels and upset the power balance. I want to say that I just have to give credit to the Biden administration. They have put a nearly $2 trillion comprehensive caregiving set of proposals addressing all the issues I just named on the table. And at Time's Up, right now, we are working very hard with the Care Can't Wait Coalition to make those proposals a reality.
And here's the thing, everything that you listed there, they don't just benefit women, they benefit everyone. They clearly benefit children, they benefit men as well. It's not a woman's issue, it's an everyone issue.
It's absolutely an everyone issue. And, one of the things that I'm encouraged by is we see business leadership for the first time, really embracing this and realizing they've got a problem. They've got a problem, they know, because they can't get enough workers back in, and they know caregiving is the issue. So at Time's Up, we launched, about 3 weeks ago, the Care Economy Business Council. When we launched, we had 200 businesses that signed on to recognize that caregiving is important, to speak out about it, but also to actually do the work inside their own companies to start addressing the caregiving needs of their employees. I've got to tell you, in the 3 weeks since we announced, over 100 companies have also joined. So we're at 300 strong, of companies large and small, from JP Morgan Chase and Verizon and Levi Strauss down to the small soul popcorn shop in Texas, because it's not just a big business issue, it's a small business issue too. It's every industry. We all need to address it. Look, we are behind the rest of the world. Right? We are one of only 2 countries in the world that doesn't have a national paid leave policy. We're way behind in having affordable childcare structures around the country. We have childcare deserts in over 50% of the geographic areas of our country. We have got to address this now. It is a crisis. And if we don't, not only are individual families and workers going to suffer, our overall economy will suffer. We are not going to be as globally competitive if we don't make sure we're able to bring more women and keep more women in the workplace.
All great points, Tina. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you can catch Women in the Workplace, the unfinished fight for equality, this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on CBSN. And if you can't wait, it's already streaming on cbsnews.com/women.